गुड इवनिंग टू ऑल ऑफ यू। कैसे हैं सब लोग? आई होप सब बढ़िया होंगे। टुडे टॉपिक इज डिमांड एंड रिकवरी, मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक। Reason that if one is not paying the taxes, then how it will be calculated and how it will be recovered by the GST provisions. So that we are going to discuss in detail. This time the pattern is slightly changed. How it is slightly changed? We will read the section first. The coverage of this chapter is basically, this is a chapter 15, demand and recovery. It covers the total 12 sections. First, it would be starting with the section 73, determination of the tax not paid, short paid or erroneously refunded by reason other than fraud, then fraud, uske baad mein, then after that, general provision relating to the determination of tax 75, tax collected but not paid to the government 76, tax wrongly collected and paid to the central government or state government section 77, initiation of the recovery of taxes, payment of tax and other in installment. Can we pay the tax in installment? We will able to understand in section 80. Transfer of the property to be void in certain cases, to be the first charge on property, tax to be first charge on property, provisional attachment, and continuation and validation. So these are the coverage of this chapter, very detailed chapter, theoretical chapter, but we'll try to add some question answer by which we will make it slight interesting. Okay. So by this we are starting. See, the first section is 73. Determination of the tax not paid, 5 mistake. I have already used multiple times in the previous classes. Tax not paid, short paid, erroneously refunded, ITC availed or utilized. Can anybody tell me, is there any difference in section 73 with respect to ITC compared to section 50 subsection 3? Is there any difference compared to section 50 subsection 3? There was a retrospective amendment with respect to the interest. Can anybody tell me what is the main difference with section 50 versus 73? Coming to the further discussion. Meanwhile, you can write in the chat so I can see in the question list. So the point is, if there is a 5 mistake and the reason is other than fraud, willful misstatement or suppression of the fact. What is the meaning of the suppression? We'll have the explanation. We'll have the explanation in the section. We'll discuss what is the meaning of suppression. Reason other than fraud, it means the mistake is there, but the mistake does not have any pre-intention. Whereas if we read the section 74, exactly same, and simply you find that section 74 cover the reason by way of the fraud, willful misstatement or suppression of the fact. Let's read the provision. Where it appear to the proper officer, tax not paid or short paid or erroneously refunded or ITC wrongly availed or utilized for any reason other than the fraud, willful misstatement. Thank you so much, Siva. Superb. You have given the correct answer of my question, that in the section 50 subsection 3, which was retrospectively amended for interest, it talk about availed and utilized. But if I read the section 73, it is still talking about avail or utilize. This is the difference. Thank you so much, Shivam. Okay. Then he shall serve the notice. So first the notice would be served on whom? The person, the registered person, the person who has not paid the taxes, etc. 5 mistake. They shall serve the notice requiring him to show cause as to why he should not pay the amount specified in the notice along with the interest under section 50 and a penalty leviable under the provision of this act or the rules made thereunder. See, section 50, we know 50 subsection 1 and 50 subsection 3. I'm not going to repeat. So interest would be paid, the rate would be same 18% for subsection 1 also and subsection 3 also. First, the notice would be served. It will be the show cause notice. They will ask that why the amount should not be paid along with interest and the penalty. How much penalty? We'll discuss at a later stage. Now, it says that what is the time limit to issue the notice? What is the time limit to issue the notice under subsection 1? The time limit to issue the notice under subsection 1 at least 3 months prior to the time limit is specified in subsection 10 for order. Meaning thereby 7310, 73 subsection 10 talk about the time limit to issue the order minus 3 months. It would be the time limit to issue the notice under section 73(1). What is the time limit in the 73 subsection 10? It says that 3 years from due date of annual return. It says that 3 years. Let me go to the subsection 10. It says that the proper officer shall issue the order within 3 years from the due date of annual return for the financial year to which tax not paid or short paid or ITC wrongly billed or utilized relate, or 3 years from the date of the refund. See, out of the 5 mistake, for the 4 mistake, they are linking with the due date of annual return, and for mistake of the refund, it will be from the date of the refund 3 years. This is the time limit to issue the order. And what is the time limit to issue the notice? Minus 3 months. So it means, in short, I can say the time limit to issue the notice under section 73 is 2 years, 9 months. Correct. I can say the time limit to issue the notice, so cause notice under section 73. The time limit to issue the so cause notice under section 73 is 2 years, 9 months. Where the notice has been issued for any period under subsection 1, then he may serve the statement for such period other than those covered in subsection 1. So like they have covered one period, like for example, it's covers August. Now for the September, they like to issue the same. So they are not required to repeat the notice. They can only issue the statement. Then such statement shall be deemed to be the notice. The service of such a statement shall be deemed to be the service of the notice, subject to the condition that the ground relied upon for such tax period other than those covered under subsection 1 should be same. So ground should be same, then statement would suffice. There is no requirement to repeat the notice again. The person chargeable with tax may, before service of the notice under subsection 1, it is called as a pre-consultation notice. Pay the amount. So if suppose Mr. A, on which the notice has been issued, if he before issuing the notice or statement, if he pay the amount along with interest under section 50 on the basis of on ascertainment of the tax, or the tax as ascertained by the proper officer and informed in writing of such payment. So before issuance of the main notice, they will issue the pre-consultation notice. Let's say it is a proper officer, and here it is a Mr. A. Like they like to issue the notice for the 2021. Only for the information purpose, I'm using the form number, but it is not relevant from the exam point of view. DRC 01. Before issuing the notice in the DRC 01, before issuing the notice by the proper officer in the DRC 01, they will issue the pre-consultation notice in the DRC 01A. Again, I'm repeating these form. I am telling only for the clarity of thought, clarity of understanding. But please note, it is not important from exam point of view. If I will not add, you will not have the clarity. Now, the pre-consultation notice, why it is being issued? So that if Mr. A is ready to make the payment prior to so-cause notice, see, there would be 4 stages. There would be the 4 stage. If the tax is being paid prior to so-cause notice, if the payment is made after SCN but before order, if the payment is made after order but within 30 days, if the payment is made after 30 days, the penalty amount would be different. So there would be the 4 category which we are going to discuss in the section 73 as well as 74. The person chargeable with the tax before issuance of the so-called notice, if he ready to make the payment, if he has made the payment along with interest, then no penalty. No penalty. Next is once officer will receive the payment, then on receipt of the information, he will not serve any notice or statement in respect of the tax so paid or any penalty payable under the provision of this act or the rules made thereunder. Koi penalty nahi lagegi. There is no penalty. Now, if there is any like part payment is being made, Mr. A has made the payment before so-cause notice, but he has not paid the full payment. He has paid the short payment. Then obviously officer can proceed to issue the so-cause notice for the balance part. Okay. Total amount is 1 lakh, but he has paid only 80,000. Now for 20,000, he can issue the so-cause notice, then order, then recover. Now subsection 8 talks about if notice has been issued. Notice has been issued. So this was pre-consultation notice. Now I'm saying the notice has been issued. And if Mr. A again make the payment within 30 days from the date of the notice, again tax plus interest, no penalty. Tax plus interest, no penalty. And once he will make the payment, then all proceeding will deem to be concluded. All proceeding will deem to be concluded. There would be no any further manual processing that yes, for concluding the notice, you have to give the reply or you have to visit the department. No, nothing. If you make the payment, if Mr. A make the payment, that's it. If Mr. A make the payment, that's it. Only 1 minute. Now, before so cause notice, no penalty. After so cause notice, but within 30 days, no penalty. Now, the proper officer, after considering the representation, if any, made by the person chargeable with tax, determine the amount of the tax, interest and penalty equal to 10%. Now, if the payment is not made within 30 days from the so cause notice, then yes, interest would be tax, penalty would be payable. That would be 10% or 10% of the tax or 10,000, whichever is higher. And then he will issue the order. So now I can say there are 3 stages. This is pre-consultation notice, and this is so cause notice, and this is order. Correct. From here to here, there is no penalty, and from here to till the payment is being made, the 10% penalty would be there. Time limit to issue the order, we have already discussed. Now, subsection 11 says that notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 6 or 8, what is being there in the subsection 6? The proper officer on receipt of that information not serve any notice. Okay. What is the information in it? So, what is the provision in the subsection 8? Where any person pay the amount along with interest, then no penalty would be leviable. Okay. Now, subsection 11 says that notwithstanding anything contained in 6 or 8, penalty under 9, subsection 9 shall be payable where any amount of the self-assessed tax or amount collected as tax has not been paid within a period of 30 days from the due date of the payment of tax. So if the tax is not paid within 30 days, then yes, penalty can be levied. Now we are moving to the section 74. Shivam, time limit would be written in that pre-consultation notice. Normally 15 to 30 days they are giving the time. In the range of 15 to 30 days. Now section 74 says again same 5 mistake, but this time the reason is other. In the 73, what was the reason? Other than fraud. But here we will talk about by reason of the fraud or willful misstatement or subletion. The section 74 is exactly same, no change. Almost provision are same. That 74 subsection 1 says that he shall serve the notice on the person. Perfect. Then the time limit is 6 months prior to the time limit specified in subsection 10. So subsection 6 and subsection 8 not clear when the penalty payable. See, in the 6 and 8 penalty would not be payable. Penalty would not be payable if he has paid along with interest. The penalty would not be payable. But they are saying penalty under subsection 9 shall be payable where any amount of tax is not paid within 30 days. So from the due date of the tax collected but not paid to the government. Okay. If the same has not been paid 30 days, then officer can levy the penalty. Over and above 6 and 8. What is the 6? What is the 8? They are saying before notice, no penalty. After notice, but before order, no penalty. So there are total 5 situations, right? Not paid, short paid, erroneously refunded, wrongly availed or utilized. ITC wrongly availed or utilized. Out of that, they are saying that if the self-assessed tax is not paid within 30 days, 30 days would be counted from the due date of the payment of the taxes. Then penalty can be levied. it will be override 6 and 8. Is it clear? Kaushiki. So now out of that, they are covering the one category of the problem, one category of the situation in which they can still levy the penalty. 74. It says that the reason is by way of fraud, willful misstatement. What is the time limit? Let me go to the subsection 10. Again, the time limit would be 5 years from the due date of annual return. What was we have discussed in the subsection section 73 subsection 10? There was 3 years in 73 non-fraud cases. In the fraud cases, the time limit is 5 years. Now, this is time limit to issue the order. What is the time limit to issue the so-called notice? That was in the 73, that was for 3 months. But now here in the 74, it will be 6 months. Meaning thereby, the notice under section 74 has to be issued within 4 years, 6 months. Clear? Now you all have to tell me the exact date. Let's say the financial year 2021. I'm hypothetically assuming the due date is, let's say 31st December 2021. It was further extended on to 2 months, 28 Feb 2022. Let's say due date has been extended. Now you all are requested to calculate and tell me what is the time limit to issue the notice under section 73 and 74. Similarly, what is the time limit to issue the order under section 73 and 74? I'm waiting for 2 minutes. You have to tell me the date here for 74, same for order 73 and 74. मैं wait करूंगा. You all have to respond me in the that very section. ठीक है, मैं wait कर रहा हूं. I am requesting everyone to give the answer. My question is, I hope it is very simple, very clear to all. The due date originally it was 31st December. It has been extended to 28 Feb. Now, what is the time limit to issue the notice and order for 73 as well as 74? So you have to tell me the 4 date. I have received the answer from Kaushiki. So, Kaushiki Sindhwani, please confirm that you have given the answer for the notice. Am I right? Or it is for order? Okay, notice, no problem. Now tell me the time limit to issue the order. So 20, let me solve this particular point query to all of you. 28 Feb is the last day to issue the or to furnish the annual letter. Okay. Now the time limit to issue the order in the 7310 would be 3 years. So I can say 28 Feb 2025 minus 3 months. So it will come as 28 November 2024. Absolutely correct. Now, time limit to issue the order here, it will be the 5. So 28 Feb 2027. Correct? And what is the time limit to issue the order? Minus 6 months. So here it will be, Shivam has also given the answer. So it will be 28 and 8 August 2026. So the Shivam, is it clear? So there is a slight difference in the notice ka date. There is a slight difference in the notice ka date, right? So fine, no problem. So you can plus minus 1 days. You have to calculate number of days or number of months accordingly. Coming to the main second difference from 73. So rest all the provision are same. In the 74, they are saying the person chargeable with tax before so cause notice any amount of tax along with interest and penalty. How much? 15% of the taxes. 15% of the taxes penalty has to be there. Before notice, if Mr. A ready to make the payment, no problem, he has to make the payment, but that payment would be tax, interest and penalty. Penalty how much? At least 15% of the tax. Now, subsection 8. If after so cause notice, but within 30 days, he make the payment, then penalty would be 25%. What is the penalty amount in subsection 9? It says that the proper officer, after considering if any order is chargeable with the tax, interest and penalty due. The penalty how much? The penalty with any person served with an order under subsection 9, pay the tax along with interest and the penalty equivalent to 50% of the tax within 30 days of the communication of the order, it will be deemed to be withdrawn. But if within 30 days not make the payment, then penalty would goes to 100% of tax. If you compare 73 and 74, let me compare once again in the form of chart. '73 and 74. Before so cause notice, no penalty. Here, 15% of the penalty. After so cause notice, but before order, no penalty, 25% would be the penalty. After order, within 30 days, %10 would be the penalty, or 10,000, whichever is higher. Here the penalty would be 50%. If the 30 days is being crossed, then same penalty, but here the penalty would be 100% of the taxes. Is it clear? Is it clear to all? एक बार confirm करें. This would be important and the due date would be important. These are the two important things till now which we have discussed. Great. Now we are moving to the We have discussed at multiple places in 73 and 74, it all proceeding in respect of the notice shall be deemed to be concluded. We have discussed now. But this proceeding will not include section 132. Sir, why it has not been included? Section 132 is prosecution of any defaulter. What is the provision? We'll discuss in the section 132. Not today, in the subsequent classes. But it says that whenever he pay the tax along with interest, etc., the deemed to be concluded, but it does not include section 132 because section 132 is a criminal offense in which the prosecution would be there. Jail ho sakti hai usko. So if anybody will pay the tax interest, still he can be prosecuted for the term which has been defined or which magistrate defined. Second important point. This is an amendment. So this was amended. Here they are saying where the notice under the same proceeding is issued to the main person liable to pay the tax and some other person. See, they are talking about, try to understand, it is a very interesting change. When the notice has been issued to the main person liable to pay the tax and some other person and such proceeding against the main person has been concluded, then the proceeding against all such person liable to pay the penalty under 122 and 125 are deemed to be concluded. Prior to 1/1/2022, here they were covering section 129 and section 130 also. But now they have excluded these. It is not deemed to be concluded. What does it mean? Let me explain with the example. Let me explain with the example, and example I will take of 129. Okay. Let's say Mr. A has made the default of tax not paid, short paid, erroneously refunded, ITC wrongly availed, utilized any. He has taken wrongly ITC on a, let's say, product. Okay. That product or that goods was sent or was coming through truck on which e-way bill was not prepared. No e-way bill was prepared. Mr. A has taken the wrong ITC on a particular category of the goods, and while sending that goods, he has not prepared the e-way bill. And let's say goods has been detained during the transit. Correct. That goods has been detained during the transit, and there is a time limit of 129, different time limit. Within that, if the owner does not come, then then there would be some higher amount of the penalty. So now the penalty, let's say, is being paid by the truck owner, conveyance owner, correct? The truck owner is making the payment. But they are saying if on the goods, there is one default under 73-74, and if the taxes is being paid, interest, etc. is being paid by Mr. A, it will be deemed to be conclude the proceeding on all other person. It will be deemed to be concluded all other person. It means if on the same goods, if there is penalty under section 129, 130, so the same once it is being paid under 73-74, it will conclude all other proceeding on all other person on same goods. But now what is saying? They are saying they have omitted 129, 130. What does it mean? It means that the penalty under e-way bill detention of the goods, that will be stand-alone carry forward. It will not be impacted even if the main person who were liable to pay the tax, has paid under 73-74 and the proceeding on the main person is deemed to be concluded, no problem, but still 129, 130 will be continue. It will not be deemed to be concluded. Is it clear? एक बार confirm करना बेटा. बहुत important चीज है. This very very important चीज. ठीक है. Let me move to the one more point. This is again very important. What is the meaning of suppression? Because if suppression is there, then it will be covered in 74. If suppression is not there, then it will be covered in the 73. What is the meaning of suppression? Suppression means non-declaration of the fact or information which a taxable person is required to declare in the written statement, reports, or any other document, okay, or failure to furnish any information being asked for by the proper officer. It is called the suppression. Let's say I'm taking one more example. Tax not paid, okay, tax not paid or short paid by the and erroneously refunded. Let's say I'm taking the example Mr. A, who has furnished the GSTR1 by showing properly all the details. As per GSTR1, the total liability was rupees 10 lakh. So you all know the GSTR1 and 3B. Please confirm in the chat. एक बार आप सभी confirm करें कि you know that what is the GSTR1 and what is the GSTR3B. I presume that you know the GSTR1 and GSTR3B because you are the final student. एक बार confirm करो so that I can continue with my example. Fine. Mr. A has furnished the GSTR1 and he has disclosed all the details, all the outward supply. It shows the tax liability of 10 lakh, but he has furnished the GSTR3B with 1 lakh rupees tax. So there is a short payment of the tax. He has paid the taxes in the GSTR3B by rupees 1 lakh. Now the difference is 9 lakh. It is a self-assessed tax or collected but not paid to the government. Maybe correct. So the question is, can it be considered as 74 default? The answer is, because this taxpayer, Mr. A, has disclosed in the GSTR1, you cannot say he has not disclosed. He has disclosed only, but tax has not been paid or short paid without intention any fraud. Because if he does have any intention of the fraud, probably he will not disclose in the GSTR1. Might be. Similarly, so therefore, I can say, yes, Shivam, fully agree with you. Accordingly, absolutely correct. If some part I have declared, like in the GSTR1, but some part I have not declared in 3B, so it will not be considered as a non-disclosure of the fact or information. I have disclosed, but I have not paid. So the case would cover in the 73. However, according to the fact and circumstances, situation may vary. It does not that it will be the straightforward always. GSTR1 and 3B ka difference would always be the 73 case. However, fact, according to the fact and circumstances, answer can be varied. Yahan tak clear hai? Explanation 2 is also clear to all. Ek baar confirm karna so that I can move to the next provision. Now we are moving to the section 75. Now we are moving to the section 75. General provision relating to the determination of tax. Where the service of the notice or the order is stayed by any order of the court or tribunal, the period of the stay shall be excluded in computing the time limit of 2 year, 9 month, 3 year, 4 year, 6 month, and 5 year. So whatever we have discussed the time limit in 73 and 74, that will exclude if any proceeding or notice or order is being stayed by the court or tribunal. Correct? Where any authority, appellate tribunal, or court conclude that notice under section 74(1) is not sustainable for the reason that the charge of the fraud or willful misstatement or suppression has not been established against the person to whom the notice was issued, the proper officer shall determine the tax payable, deeming as if the notice were issued in the 73 subsection 1. Huge dispute and doubt in the trade, for which they have given the clarification that for 75 subsection 2, they have given the clarification recently. Let me again, it would not be applicable for your next exam, but I'm just explaining in again for your better understanding, because you should have the clarity on this particular 75(2). एक मिनट देना मेरे को, ठीक है? Give me only 1 minute, बेटा. What was the issue? Let me explain the issue first, and then I will discuss with the circular. Circular was 184. Again, I can say that I am sharing this for the benefit of your understanding. Sorry, 185 was there, wrongly open. It says that 75 subsection 2, what is the 75 subsection 2? If the notice has been issued by officer treating the same as a fraud or willful misstatement, but finally that fraud element of the fraud has not been proved, 75 subsection 2 says it will be deemed that notice has been issued in the 73 and accordingly it will be proceeded. What was the doubt which has been clarified in this circular? Let's say I'm talking about financial year 21-22. ठीक है? Please tell me the time limit to issue the notice in 73. Please quickly tell me the time limit to issue the notice under section 74, assuming due date of annual return is 31st December 2022. एक और quickly बता पाएंगे? Can you please tell me quickly the time limit to issue the so-called notice only? I'm not talking about the order. Time limit to issue the so-called notice in 73 and 74. Very simple. You will say that here I will add 2 year, 9 month. Correct. So your answer would be 30th September 2025. Here you will add 4 year, 6 month. Correct. So your answer would be 30th June 2027. Now let's say the notice has been issued by the officer under section 74 on, let's say, 1st January 2026. Can you please confirm that whether the notice was within time or beyond the time limit under section 74? Simple question I'm asking, but it is very important so that you can have the better understanding on the 75 subsection 2. Whether notice was issued within time under section 74 or not. Your answer would be yes, because the time limit to issue the notice under section 74 is June 2027. It has been issued on 1st Jan 2026. 1st Jan 2026. So it is within the time limit for section 74. Now, let's say appellate authority, tribunal, court has concluded that there is no fraud. Has concluded that there is no fraud. In that case, 75 subsection 2 says that it will be deemed that notice was issued under section 73. Question arose that whether this notice would be sustainable because it was after the 73 but before 74. Because the main intention or main interpretation was 74. Officer has issued within the time limit of 74. But what happened? The time limit of 73 has been expired at that point of time. Then 75(2) के ऊपर ये circular issue हुआ. Circular 185, which has been issued on December 2022. Not applicable again, but I'm telling you for your understanding, repeating again and again so that you will not do any mistake. Then this particular point has been clarified that if the notice, which is converted or deemed to be issued in 73, if the same was issued after the original time limit of 2 years 9 months, this proceeding will not sustainable. That financial aid would be unrecovered. It cannot be recovered. Is it clear? So it means they are saying that deemed to be issued in 73, okay, but the time limit will not be extended. This notice will be deemed to be under section 73, not required to issue the notice again. But if the original notice is after 2 years 9 months, then proceeding under that 73 will not be sustainable. Will not be sustainable. It's really welcome clarification by the CBIC. Because what happened otherwise? What could be the side effect of this particular provision? Suppose if the CBIC would not clarify, then what they will do, officer will do, ki now, because it is converted in 73, now we will start recover under section 73. It means the time limit of 73 will not have any relevance. The time limit of 73 will not have any relevance because officer would tend to issue the notice always under 74, even though they know that the fraud element is not there. Even though they know the fraud element is not there, but they will issue under 74 if the 2 years 9 months is expired. So that is a welcome clarification. I hope it is clear. Correct. Now let's move to the another provisions. Where an order is required to be issued in pursuance of the direction of court, then see, the court has given the direction. Okay. In that it will be deemed to be 73. Then that order has to be issued within 2 years from the direction. So notice is within time, no problem. Then you can issue the order within 2 years from the date of the direction. Opportunity will always be granted. Okay. Opportunity of hearing shall be granted where a request is received in writing from the person chargeable with tax or penalty, or where any adverse decision is contemplated against such person. Officer shall, if sufficient cause is shown, by the person chargeable tax, grant time to said person, and adjourn the hearing for the reason to be recorded in writing. The officer shall grant the time and adjourn the hearing if sufficient cause being shown. However, maximum adjournment could be 3 times. Maximum adjournment could be 3 times. It will no such adjournment granted for more than 3 times to a person during the proceeding. Officer shall set out the relevant fact, that is okay. Amount of the tax interest penalty shall not be in excess of the amount specified in the notice. So order cannot add any new demand. If it is not being covered in the notice, then cannot add any new demand. Okay. Shall not exceed notice, and no demand shall be confirmed on the ground other than the ground specified in the notice. Perfect. Where the appellate authority, appellate tribunals, or the court modify the amount of the tax determined. So because of any reason the amount is increased or decreased, correspondingly interest and penalty shall stand modified accordingly. So it is not that again they will issue the notice, they will specify the interest, they will specify the penalty. No, it will automatically deemed to be changed, deemed to be modified. Interest on the tax short paid, not paid, shall be payable whether or not specified in the order determining the tax liability. Interest would always be payable. Sometimes they are calculating, sometimes they are only not calculating, sometimes it is being specified, not specified, but interest would always be payable. That's one thing. Adjudication proceeding shall be deemed to be concluded if the order is not issued within I can say 2 year 9 month notice is not issued, or 3 year order is not issued. Same 4 year 6 month notice is not issued, and 5 year order is not given. Okay. The issue on which appellate authority, tribunals, and High Court has given its decision, which is prejudicial to the interest of the revenue, it means against the department, in some other proceeding, and an appeal to the next level. If it is appellate authority, then tribunal. If it is tribunal, then High Court. If it is High Court, then Supreme Court against that decision is pending. So appeal has been made and that decision is pending. The period is spent between the date of the first decision and date of the decision by the next level will be excluded in computing the period of 7310 or 7410 so cause notice. So not so cause notice, time limit issue the order. Correct. So if the department, the order is against the interest of the revenue at any level of appeal. First level of appeal is appellate authority. Second level of appeal is appellate tribunal. Third level of appeal is High Court, and fourth level of appeal is Supreme Court. Okay. And this order is being against the interest of the revenue. It means okay. Then the again they have approached the next level of appeal. Then time limit which is being spent between the decision of first order and decision of second order, next order. The time which is being the time taken that will be excluded in computing 7310 or 7410. Notwithstanding anything contained in 73 and 74. Where any amount of self-assessed tax in accordance with the return furnished in section 39 remain unpaid, or any amount of the interest payable on such tax remain unpaid, same shall be recovered under the provision of section 79. What does it mean? Now this explanation was not there since beginning. It was added in the one effective from 1/1/2022. It was very, very again I can say the clarificatory. What was that? Suppose there was multiple writ was filed in the High Court that I have furnished the GSTR1 with the 10 lakh rupees. Mr. A has furnished the GSTR1 with 10 lakh rupees, and he has paid the taxes in 3B only 1 lakh rupees. Now the difference is 9 lakh plus interest. If SOCO's notice has not been given to recover this amount, whether that proceeding would be sustainable or not, that was the question. Mr. A has not furnished the tax which he had declared in the 1 but which has not been declared in the 3B, not paid the taxes, can it be directly recovered without any notice or not? That was the question. Because let me go back to the provisions. It says that notwithstanding anything contained in 73-74, because you can recover the self-assessed tax without any notice. 75 subsection 12 says without following the proceeding of 73-74, if the tax is self-assessed, it can be recovered directly. The doubt was whether difference between 1 and 3B can be recovered, can be treated as self-assessed and recovered directly. The answer was no initially. But after that, they have added the explanation in 75-12. This is an amendment made effective from 1/1/2022. What was that? They are saying shall include the tax payable in respect of the GSTR 1, but not included in GSTR 3B. Section 39 is 3B, section 37 is the GSTR 1. It means if it has been added in the 1, not added in 3B, no notice is required. Directly can be recovered by the officer, because 75 subsection 12 is starting with the non-obstant clause to 73 and 74. एक बार confirm करना, is this part clear? Importance and relevance of this explanation. Now, there was one more problem. एक बार confirm करना, then I will move to the further. Is it clear or any doubt? Clear ना? ठीक है. Now, I am talking about one order. Let me open that study material of the institute and show you the relevant page. Unable to find? No problem. This order was issued. That order was issued to in case, suppose what happened that Mr. A has furnished the GSTR 1 and wrongly reported 10 lakh. It is possible, sir. But somehow when he was filing 3B, it is auto-populated, but when, because we have to pay the taxes in 3B. But it has been noticed by that of Mr. A. So he has corrected the same. Now, if the self-assessed tax become directly recovered without any notice, then it will be injustice to the Mr. A. Might be there is a human error, clerical error. So to give the clarity, they have issued instruction number 1, 7 Jan 2022. It says that in case of the mismatch between 1 and 3B, officer may first send a communication to the registered person to pay the self-assessed tax, short paid, not paid, to explain the reason for the same. It means they will give the opportunity to understand why there is a difference between 1 and 3B within the reasonable time prescribed in the communication. Recovery proceeding in 79 will be initiated by the officer only when the said person either failed to reply or failed to make the payment or failed to explain for such amounts not paid, short paid, erroneously, etc. Okay. Where any penalty is imposed in 73-74. Now, 75 subsection 3 is called as double jeopardy. There is a concept in the taxation law, not in the taxation law, normally there is a concept of double jeopardy. What is the concept of double jeopardy? That for same offense, no double punishment. For the same offense, there should be no double punishment. When you read the section 122 now, see, currently we are talking about the demand and recovery. And same when you read the section 122 penalty provision, 122 subsection 1 and subsection 2, you will find almost similar provision are there. 122 subsection 2, you will find exactly similar provision are there in of 7374. Then the question was, suppose Mr. A has been charged in 7374 and imposed any penalty. Can the penalty be again imposed under any provision of that? The mainly point I can say, you can go checks 122 subsection 2. We will discuss in the penalty chapter, but if you like to satisfy your curiosity, your query, your question, you can go and read 122 subsection 2. It is same. So doubt was that can the same penalty like 7374 already imposed in the 122.2, they are talking about the same instance. So can the penalty be again imposed for the same fact of the offense? The answer was no. Where it is written 7513. Basically 7513 is nothing but the concept of double jeopardy. For the same offense, it should not be punishable twice. Okay? If the penalty is imposed in 7374, no penalty for the same act or omission shall be imposed on the same person under any provision of this, any other provision of this act. I hope it is clear. Sir, there are one amendment in the 75 with respect to 88C. Can we also quickly have the brief discussion? We'll discuss. Surely we'll discuss. Give me 1 minute. Let me open that particular and we'll shortly discuss. It is not applicable to your exams because you are talking about December 2022 now. No problem, but we will discuss surely. So you mean to say the rule 88C, is it? But rule 88C, no, okay, great. So you like to cover that part also, is it? No problem. Very nice, no issue. So, but 88C, manner of dealing with the two, with the difference in the liability reported in GSTR1 and that is reported in GST. Okay, fine. Let me share that screen so you all can read, but I will only explain the concept. See, what was the 88C? Screen mein nahi visible hoga. Let me. The 88C is talking about yet to be notified. Point number 1, yet to be notified. I am supplier. I have reported GSTR1 and I have reported GSTR3B, but there was a difference. And the difference was so much of the percentage, so much of the amount, and or which is being prescribed. So they will issue the notification. They will issue the notification and they will give the difference amount. If the difference, let's say they are talking about 10% or 10 lakh. Okay. I have furnished my GSTR1, I have furnished my GSTR3B, and the difference was so much of the amount which has been given in the notification. In that case, what happened? Department will not wait for self-assessment tax. Department will not initiate direct recovery, etc. They will issue the notice in the DRC01B that they are talking about the form in the part A. Okay. And I have to take any of the two action. On the person it has notice has been issued, he has to take any of the two action. Either pay the differential tax liability along with interest or explain the difference in the tax payable on the common portal. It means in the GSTN, there would be the facility wherein I can give my reasoning or I can explain the reason or I can pay the tax along with interest. And the time limit is 7 days. Point to be noted, time limit is 7 days. If it is remain unpaid and no reason has been given by the taxpayer, then now it is being linked to the section 79. So in between, they are adding one more process. They are adding one more process, online process, system process for higher amount of the differences. Is it clear, sir? शिवम क्लियर है आप पॉइंट आपको? एनी डाउट? Now shall move to the section 76. Tax collected but not paid to the government. Tax collected but not paid to the government. Now they are saying notwithstanding anything, notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in any order or direction of any appellate authority, tribunal, court, or any other provision of this act or the rules made thereunder or any other law for the time in force. Every person who has collected from any other person as tax and not paid the same to the government shall forthwith pay the said amount to the government irrespective of whether the supplies in respect of which such amount was collected are taxable or not. Let's say I am composite dealer. Okay, I do not have the right to collect tax. I have collected. That is section 76, where any person is required to be paid to the government and not so paid. The proper officer may serve on the person liable to pay the tax a notice requiring him to show cause as to why this amount as specified should not be paid along with the penalty equivalent to the amount specified in the notice should not be imposed. So they will give the show cause notice. Officer shall, after considering the representation made by the person on whom the notice, they will determine the amount due from such person and shall pay the amount determined. Okay. The person referred to in subsection 1, in addition to paying the amount referred to in 1 or 3, shall also be liable to pay the interest. What is the rate? Section 50. From the due date of the collection till the date of the actual payment. Opportunity will always be granted. Proper officer shall issue the order within 1 year from the date of issue the notice. So now they have given the time limit to issue the order. Order should be given within 1 year. Where the issuance of the order is stayed by the court, again that will be excluded. Okay. Amount paid to the government shall be adjusted against the tax payable, if any, by the person in relation to the supply referred to in subsection 1. Where any surplus is left, then it can be refunded or credited to the fund. Any surplus is left after adjustment, let's go back to the subsection 9. The amount paid to the government under subsection 1 or subsection 3 ठीक है, shall be adjusted against the tax payable in reference to the supplies made under subsection 1, which is not liable to collect but has been collected. Agar if there is any excess amount credited to the fund. So there is a concept of consumer welfare fund, which we have discussed in the different chapter, like section 54, subsection 5 and subsection 8. So that will be credited to the consumer welfare fund, or it can be refunded to the person who has borne the incidence of the tax. That is important term for refund, which we have discussed in the refund chapter, that incidence should be borne by that taxpayer. Then only it can be refunded. Otherwise, it will be credited to the consumer welfare fund. So same thing, the person who has borne the incidence, he can apply for the refund. Now, one important thing, that suppose tax has been collected and not paid to the government, and let's say time limit of 73, 74 has been expired. Time limit of 73 or 74 has been expired. Can, after the expiry of that period, 70, can the notice be issued? Can the notice be issued? Answer would be yes. In section 76, tax collected but not paid to the government, it starts with the notwithstanding any provision in the law for the timing in force. Every person who has collected then has not paid to the government has to pay the said amount, irrespective. That is okay. So it means answer is yes. It can be even if it is not linked to the original time limit or time limit of 73, 74. Clear? So 76 ka time limit would be, there is no time limit to issue the notice for 76. There is time limit to issue the order in 76. After the notice, it would be within 1 year. Now try to understand what is the section 77. See, I have made the supply to you, Mr. I have made the supply to you. Arun has made the supply to Shivam. Okay. Arun is in Delhi and Shivam is in, let's say, Calcutta. Shivam, kahan se ho? What is your location? So I have made the supply and I have assumed, and he was told to deliver the same in Delhi. Okay. So my from my factory, it has been delivered in Delhi. So it was under the impression that it is intrastate supply, and on this supply I have paid CGST and SGST. But actually later on it was clear, or it was confirmed, that it is interstate supply. So, but I have paid the wrong taxes intra. I have paid the wrong taxes intra. Actually, it is inter because it was built to ship to model, section 10, subsection 1, clause B. Then section 77 says that pay the correct tax and take the refund of wrong tax. Pay the correct tax and take the refund of wrong taxes. So I have paid the correct taxes. Let's say I have identified the transaction originally was of 1718. And now I am paying the taxes on 5th of March 2023. I am paying the IGST. My question, which I have already discussed in the refund chapter, just I'm checking the your knowledge again, that can I take the refund of old taxes, of wrong taxes of CGST, SGST, even after the expiry of, like, let's say 2 years? Can I take the refund of the wrong taxes, CGST and SGST now? I have paid the correct taxes. Can I take the tax refund of the wrong taxes? Answer would be yes. We have discussed in the refund chapter. There was sub rule 1A was also inserted. Sub rule 1A was also inserted for section 77. That the date when you pay the correct tax means IGST on 5th March, you can apply the refund within 2 years from the date of the payment of correct tax. So let's read the language. A registered person who has paid the CGST, SGST as the case may be, or UTGST on a transaction considered by him to be an intrastate, but which is subsequently held to be an interstate, shall be refunded in such manner subject to such condition as may be prescribed. Now, that particular point was also discussed in one of the circulars. Subsequently held means it should be only by officer. So this point was also clarified in one of the circular, that what is the meaning of subsequently held. Let's say I myself come to know after 5 years. I myself come to know after 5 years. Then if I pay the correct tax, will the department give the refund of wrong taxes? Because it is not identified by the officer. So in the field formation, in the market, it was the doubt. The subsequently held means only by the department. If department notice and issue the intimation, then only it will be treated as subsequently held. In other words, I can say the word subsequently held will not include, the word subsequently held will not include the identification by the taxpayer himself, suo motu. No. That was clarified that it will cover both the situation, whether it is being identified by the taxpayer or is being identified by the officer, it will include both. And here, not to be required to pay the interest. So in the case of section 77, inter treated as intra or vice versa, there would be no interest because tax has already been paid to the government. Intimation of the recovery proceeding. Okay. An amount payable by the taxable person in pursuance of an order passed under this act shall be paid by such person within a period of 3 months from the date of the service of such order. Repeating once again, amount payable by the taxable person in pursuance of the order passed under this act shall be paid within a period of 3 months from the date of the service of such order, following which recovery proceeding shall be initiated. Proviso says that where the proper officer consider it expedient in the interest of the revenue, he may, for the reason to be recorded in writing, require the said taxable person to make the payment within the lesser period of 3 months as may be specified. So if they are asking so, then they have to record the reason in writing. This is section 78. Now we are moving to the section 70. We are moving to the section 79, but that we will do after break. So we will resume at 7:30. We are taking the break of 10 minutes, approx 10 minutes. And Ashokji, So we were talking about section 79. Now we are on the study material, institute study material. What is the section 79? If the payable amount is not paid within a period of 3 months, recovery shall be initiated and various action may be taken by the recovery officer for realization of the government dues. Recovery of the tax can also be made from the distinct person. What is the meaning of distinct person? One pen, multiple GSTI. Correct. Refer to 25 subsection 4 and 25 subsection 5. The option for recovery of the government dues include deduction of the money from any amount payable to the taxpayer detaining and selling of the goods, directing any other person from whom the money is due to such person, attaching any property belonging to the defaulter, etc. Now, where any amount payable by the person to the government under any provision of this act or the rules made thereunder is not paid, the proper officer shall proceed to recover in one or more of the following modes. What are the modes? Recovery by deduction from any money owed. The proper officer may deduct or may require any other specified officer to deduct the amount so payable from any money owing to such person referred as defaulter, which may be under the control of the proper officer or other specified officer. What is the meaning of specified officer? Any officer of central government, state government, union territory, local authority, or board. Board means CBIC, or corporation, or a company owned or controlled by the government. Okay. First is recovery by deduction from any money owed. Now, recovery by sale of goods under the control of the proper officer. The proper officer may recover or may require any other specified person to recover the amount so payable. Recovery by sale of the goods under the control of the proper officer. Okay. The proper officer may recover or may require any other specified officer to recover the amount from a defaulter by detaining and selling the goods through a process including e-auction belonging to that person which are under the control of the officer. They will prepare the inventory, estimate the value of the goods and proceed to sell only so much of the goods which is required to recover the amount payable, along with the administrative expenditure. Where the defaulter pay the amount under recovery, including any expenditure incurred in the process, before the issue of the notice for auction, the proper officer shall cancel the process of the auction and release the goods. Third, garnishing proceeding. Recovering from third party. The proper officer may, by notice in the prescribed form, in writing require any other person from whom the money is due or may become due to the person who hold or may subsequently hold the money on account of such person to pay to the government, or either forthwith upon the money becoming due or being held within the time specified in the notice, not being before the money become due or is held. So much of the money as is sufficient to pay. So repeating again, the officer by notice may require any other person from whom the money is due or may become due to that defaulter, that so much of the money which is sufficient to pay the outstanding balance of the liability of that defaulter. Okay. Every person to whom the notice has been issued, like Mr. A is a defaulter, he has sold the goods, or Mr. A has given the property on rent to Mr. B. Now Mr. B need to pay rupees 1 lakh per month, let's say, or it is a 1 lakh per month. So instead of making payment to Mr. A, the notice can be given to B that please pay this amount to the government. Every person to whom the notice is issued, he shall be bound to comply the notice issued by the officer. Where any notice is issued the post office, bank, insurance, then it shall not be necessary to produce any passbook, etc. Like being paid before the payment is made. Okay? In case the person to whom the notice is issued failed to make the payment in pursuance thereof to the government, he shall be deemed to be the defaulter. Now, Mr. B become defaulter if he will not make the payment to the government. The officer at any time amend, revoke the notice or extend the time for making the payment. Now, if any person, Mr. B, make the payment in the response to the notice, then shall be deemed to have made the payment under the authority of the person in default. So it will be deemed that Mr. A has made the payment. Further, such payment being credited to the government shall be deemed to constitute the good and sufficient discharge of the liability of the defaulter. Any person discharging any liability to the person in default after servicing on him shall be personally liable to the government to the extent of the liability discharge or to the extent of the liability in default, whichever is lower. ठीक है. So balance amount के लिए वो हमेशा liable रहेगा. वो Mr. B, Mr. A, where a person on whom the notice is served prove. Now if Mr. B, the notice has been issued to the Mr. B, if he prove to the satisfaction of the officer that money which you are thinking that I need to pay to Mr. A, but which is actually not due. So according to you, I have to pay rupees 1 lakh, but the rental amount is only 10,000. The rental amount is not 1 lakh. So I am required to pay only 10,000, not 1 lakh, or I am not required to pay at all. So the money is not due if he is proved the money demanded or any part thereof was not due to the person in default, that is Mr. A, or he did not hold the money. Then in that case, he will not require to pay because of that notice. Where the third party make the payment to the amount specified in the notice, the proper officer shall issue the certificate to the third person, clearly indicating details of the liability so discharged. Now, recovery by sale of movable and immovable property, section 79, subsection 1, clause D. The officer may, in accordance with the rules to be made in this behalf, distrain any movable or immovable property belonging to under the control of that person and detail until the amount payable is paid. And in case any part of the said amount payable or of the cost of distress or keeping the property remain unpaid for a period of 30 days, next after any such distress may cause the said property to be sold through e-auction, including e-auction also. And sale proceed may satisfy the first satisfy the amount payable, cost including cost of sales remaining unpaid, and shall render the surplus amount, if any, that will be paid to the department. Whether such proceeding initiated and the amount to be paid to the government are valid or not. They will give the proper notice now. They will give the proper notice along with details for which he will give the reply, and according to the reply he can prove that there is no amount due or something like that. So the proper detailing would be there. So they have not prescribed the form as such to the extent of my knowledge. Okay. But yes, if they are recovering, they will prescribe. They will give the details that yes, he is required to pay the amount, or probably they will issue the note. They will provide the notice or order might be to the satisfaction of Mr. B. The proper officer shall prepare the list of the movable and immovable property belonging to the defaulter, estimate their value as per the prevalent market value, and issue an order of attachment or distraint and a notice for sale prohibiting any transaction with regard to such movable and immovable property as may be required for the recovery of the amount due, and notice for the sale prohibiting any transaction with regard to such movable, immovable as may be required to for the recovery of the due. In case of the attachment is of an immovable property, order shall be affixed on the property till the confirmation of sale. And in respect of movable, officer shall seize the property and take it in custody. Stamp duty, any other tax, fee payable on the transfer shall be paid by the transferee. Any property in debt not secured by a negotiable instrument, a share corporation, or other movable property not in the possession of the defaulter except for the property deposited in the custody of any court shall be attached in manner given in the rule 151. We'll discuss separately. Let me repeat again. Any property in the debt not secured by the negotiable instrument is shares in a corporation or any other movable property not in the possession of the defaulter except for the property deposit shall be attached in the manner provided in rule 151. Where any claim is preferred, any objection is raised with regard to the attachment or disdain of any property by a person claiming that he had some interest in or was in possession of that property in question, proper officer shall investigate and then postpone the sale till such time. If the proper officer find merit in his claim or objection upon investigations, officer will release the property fully or partly. Otherwise, the officer will reject the claim and proceed with the process of the claim, the process of the sale through auction. Where the defaulter pays the amount under recovery, including any expenses incurred on the process of recovery before the issuance of the notice for auction, the officer shall cancel the process of the auction and release the goods. Same. Amount so realized from the sale of the goods, movable or immovable, then first be appropriated against the administrative cost of the recovery process. Next will be apportioned against the amount to be recovered. Next to be appropriated against any other amount from the defaulter under C, S, I or UTGST. And last, if any, then surplus would be there. It will be refunded or it will be returned to the defaulter. Where the property to be sold is a negotiable instrument or a shares in corporation, the proper officer may, instead of selling it by public auction, sell such instrument or shares through the broker, and the said broker shall deposit this amount to the government, so much of the proceed of such sale, reduced by his commission, as may be required for discharge of the amount under recovery, and pay the remaining amount to the owner of the instrument or a shares. Any officer who has the duty to perform in connection with such sale not acquire any interest in property sold. No such sale will take place on Sunday or other general holiday. Proper officer may seek assistance from the judicial officer, jurisdictional police station. Recovery as a arrear of land. Officer may prepare the certificate in the prescribed form signed by him specifying the amount due from such person and send it to collector of the district in which such person owes any property or reside or carry out his business, or any other officer authorized by the government, and the said collector on receipt of that certificate shall proceed to recover as if it is a arrear of land revenue. Magistrate. So, notwithstanding anything contained in the Code of Criminal Procedure, the officer may file an application. Proper officer, GST proper officer may file the application to the magistrate in the prescribed form. To recover from the person concerned amount specified therein, and such magistrate shall recover as if it was the fine imposed by him. So these are, we are talking about the recovery mode in section 79. Okay. Then recovery through execution of decree, where any amount is payable to the defaulter in execution of decree of civil court for the amount of the, for the payment of the money, or for sale in enforcement of the mortgage or charge, officer shall send a request to the said court, and court shall, subject to the provision of the Code of Civil Procedure, execute the attached decree and credit the net proceed for the settlement of the amount recoverable. Recovery through surety, where any person has become surety for the amount due by the defaulter, he may be proceeded against this chapter as if he were the defaulter. Recovery from the company in liquidation, where the company is under liquidation as specified in section 88, the commissioner shall notify the liquidator for the recovery of any amount representing the tax, interest, penalty in the prescribed form. Other provisions governing recovery of the taxes, where the terms of any bond or other instrument executed under this act, that any amount due under such instrument may be recovered in the manner laid down in subsection 1. The amount may, without prejudice to any other mode of recovery, be recovered in accordance with the provision of that subsection. Where any amount of the tax interest penalty is payable by a person to the government, then which remain unpaid, the officer of the SGST, UTGST during the course of the recovery may recover the amount from the said person as if it is once an arrear of the said state tax, UTGST. So same, if he has the required to be collected CGST, and if SGST would collect, then it will be deemed as that it is an state tax and he can collect, or vice versa. Where the amount recovered under subsection 3 is less, then the amount due to the central government and the state government shall be credited to the account of the respective government in proportion to the amount due. So that if short amount is being collected, then it will be divided in the same ratio in which the amount was due. Now we are talking about section 80. Now let's read the section 80. In case of the recovery from the liquidator is needed to be followed the priority, yes, IBC. जो IBC की priority है उसी priority के according recover होगा. Same priority which was written in the IBC. Recently there was an amendment also that if the amount is being reduced according to the any company which is in liquidation. Okay. So if the amount is reduced, if the liability is reduced, then correspondingly the officer, GST officer has to reduce the liability for their order. Say he has given the order for 1 lakh rupees. Let's say IBC has reduced the order and they are saying the liability would be reduced to 60,000. Then they have to amend the order as per the IBC order. So IBC would definitely IBC would prevail. Section 80, payment of the tax or any other amount in installment on application filed by a taxable person. The commissioner, for reason to be recorded in writing, extend the time for payment or allow the payment of any amount due under this act. But please note, other than self-assessed tax. It means if there is a liability of GSTR 3B, then it cannot be allowed as installment. You have to pay in one shot. Then apart from that self-assessed tax liability, the rest of the liability can be in installment but not exceeding 24. The maximum installment kitna hoga? 24 installment hoga, subject to the interest and condition and the limitation as may be prescribed. Then further they are saying where the default in payment of one installment on its due date, then the whole outstanding balance payable shall become due and payable and shall be liable for recovery. Now once if anybody has made the default in any one installment, then the installment option would exhausted and the entire amount would be recovered. Sorry. Section 81, transfer of property to be void in certain cases. Where a person after any amount has become due from him, create a charge on or part with the property belonging to him or on his possession, either by the sale, mortgage, exchange, or any other mode of the transfer, whatsoever of any of his property in favor of any other person And what was the intention? With an intention to defraud the government revenue. Such charge or transfer shall be void against any claim in respect of any tax or any other sum payable by the said person. So that transfer would be void. Now they are saying that such charge or transfer shall not be void if it is made for adequate consideration in good faith and without notice of the pendency of the proceeding under this act or without notice of such tax by the said person or with the previous permission of the proper officer. In that case, it would not be void. Then they are saying tax to be first charged on the property. They are saying notwithstanding anything contained to the contrary contained in any law for the time being in force, save as otherwise provided in IBC 2016, any amount payable by a taxable person or any other person on account of the tax interest penalty which is liable to pay the government shall be the first charge on the property of the such taxable person. Please note, save as otherwise provided in the IBC. So they will, so IBC would prevail. IBC would prevail, but rest will be overriding. I think this would be the more better clarity, Shivam, to you, to your question. Now the provisional attachment. Section 83, the provisional attachment to protect the revenue in certain cases, where after initiation of any proceeding under C. Now, very, very important. What is that? Earlier, it was certain section which is being quoted. Give me 1 minute. Huh? Earlier, there was, the chapter was not there. What was there? Section 62, Section 63, Section 64, Section 67, 73, 74. Earlier, there was 6 section. What is the meaning? They are saying where after intimation of any proceeding under this section, the commissioner is of the opinion that for the purpose of protecting the interest of the government revenue, they can attach provisionally any property including bank account. It means earlier the action for provisional attachment was limited to 6 sections. So what was that? 62, 63, 64, 67 and 73, 74. Now they have removed this section and they are saying chapter 12, chapter 14 and chapter 15. It means if any proceeding which is being started for chapter 12, that is assessment, it includes section 59 to section 64. It includes chapter 14, inspection, search, seizure, 67 to 72, demand and recovery, which we are talking about 73 to 84. So where after the initiation of any proceeding under, now these are limited, not limited to certain section, it is expanded. Scope has been extended by including the chapter. It means it is covering now 59 to 64, 5 section, 67 to 72, 5 section, and 73 to 84, almost 12 section. So it will be 22 section instead of 6 section. Then they can recover belonging to the taxable person. Now, this part has also been amended, or any person is specified in subsection 1 of 122. Now, what does it mean? It means, if you refer section 122, subsection 1A, what is that? See, any mastermind of any default. Say, normally, Mr. A is a businessman. Okay? He is having various labor staff, etc. What Mr. A did, he has taken the PAN card and Aadhaar card of any of the labor and obtained the GST number on that number, on that particular Aadhaar card and PAN card. Now the default is being identified by the officer, and he approach and he goes to this person to recover this amount. Now the laborer doesn't know that whether there is any GST against him or not. क्या उसके अगेंस्ट, क्या उसके कोई जीएसटी भी नंबर है या नहीं है? He doesn't know. In that case, why it is so? Because actual mastermind was Mr. A. He is not the person, but there is no provision who recover the amount from Mr. A. There is no provision in the law who recover the amount from Mr. A. Then they have inserted subsection 1A and say that if any person, two important words are there, who retain the benefit plus who gives the instruction or the direction. It means the direction and retention of benefit, that two things, if it is made, if it is done by the Mr. A, in that case, he would become the defaulter of 122. He would become liable for penalty under section 122 1A, and this 1A has been added in the section 83, meaning thereby to recover the amount, the attachment or property can be attached of Mr. A. Got the point? I hope it is clear. The inclusion or amendment here, instead of section, the chapter has been added, and here the 122 1A also being added. Correct. Huh? So now every such provisional attachment shall cease to have the effect after the expiry of 1 year from the date of the order. Okay. Now, section 84, this would be the last section. Okay. And then we will move to the circular. Certain circular we are going to discuss in detail. So section 84. Section 84 says where any notice. So what is that? Continuation and validation of certain recovery proceeding. What is the difference between the provisional attachment and attachment? The provisional attachment would be valid only for 1 year. The provisional attachment would be valid for 1 year. It means it will be only controlled by the GST department so that it cannot be sold. Now, if they like to attach and they like to dispose of, they have to initiate the recovery proceeding according to section which we have discussed earlier. So this is only to keep the control. So he will not be used the money, or he will not be able to sold or disposed of the goods or something like that. But if they like to sell, if the government like to sell, they have to proceed with the section 130 and all other provision which we have discussed above. It is only say blockage for the time being. Only the blockage for the time being, but they will not have the right to sell the property. And it will automatically released after 1 year. So within 1 year, officer has to initiate the action. But can we use bank account when provisionally attached? You, taxpayer can't. Taxpayer cannot use. No, that is the reason the provisional attachment. So it is not in my control. But that amount, whatever it is there, it will be lying in the bank account. It's not that that government will recover from that. They will only block the bank account. Okay. Shall we proceed? Now, where any notice of demand in respect of any tax, penalty, interest, or any other amount payable under this act, hereinafter referred as government dues, is served upon any taxable person or any other person, or any appeal, revision, application is filed, or other proceeding is initiated in respect of such government dues, then, let me repeat again, where any notice of the demand in respect of tax, interest, penalty, government dues is served upon any taxable person or any other person, and any appeal, revision is filed, or any other proceeding is initiated in respect of such government dues, then where such government dues are enhanced in such appeal, revision, or any proceeding, the commissioner shall serve upon the taxable person in another notice of the demand for incremental component. Okay. In respect of the amount by which such government dues are enhanced, and any recovery proceeding in relation to such government dues as are covered by the notice of the demand upon him before the disposal of that appeal, revision, or other proceeding without the service of any fresh notice of demand may continue from the stage at which such proceeding stood immediately before such disposal. Let me read again. For the better clarity. They are saying that if the government dues are enhanced, then the another notice of the demand in respect of the amount by which the government dues are increased and any recovery proceeding as covered by the notice of the demand served upon him before the disposal of such appeal without the service of any fresh notice may continue from the stage at which such proceeding stood immediately before that disposal. So that will continue. Where any government dues are reduced in any proceeding, it shall not be necessary for the commissioner to serve upon the taxable person a fresh notice of the demand. Commissioner shall give the intimation of the reduction and to the appropriate authority with whom a recovery proceeding is pending. Any recovery proceeding initiated on the basis of the demand served upon him prior to the disposal of the appeal may be continued in relation to the amount so reduced from the state at which such proceedings stood immediately before. So the demand, the recovery, that will be continued. If it is being increased for enhanced amount, if it will be decreased, then for reduced amount. That is the only point. So we have completed the provision applicable section. Let's move to the one important circular, very, very important circular. This circular was for 73-74. And basically, this circular was issued to give the clarity on the fake invoicing. Before reading the circular, what was the doubt prior to this circular? Let me explain the doubt. That suppose A is only involved in the issuing the invoice without supplying the goods. So A is basically issuing the fake invoicing. Okay. Mr. B has taken the ITC. Perfect. B has also given the only invoice to Mr. C. 3 party, and the rest, the same chain will be continued. Now, what was happening? What was happening? That suppose there is a tax of rupees, that value is rupees, let's say 10 lakh, and the tax is, let's say 50,000. Now, what the field formation officer was doing, they are raising the demand on A for rupees 50,000. They are raising the demand on B for rupees 50,000. They are raising the demand on C for the 50,000. Meaning thereby, basically, they are recovering this 50,000 from 3 party. They are recovering this 50,000 from 3 party. Actually, default was of 50,000, but they are recovering 1,50,000. That was the doubt. The doubt was clarified by the circular. Before starting the circular, I'll let you explain the main crux of the circular. They are saying A has issued only invoice. So they are saying it is not a supply at all. See, if Mr. A has issued the invoice to be fake invoicing, but without movement of the goods, if the goods are not moved, if the goods are not supplied, it is not a supply at all. Because it is not a supply, therefore, the A cannot be penalized in 73-74. No. He can be penalized only for the section 122 subsection 1. That will be 10,000. Now B, who has taken the ITC without actual receipt of the goods, basically he is violating the section 16 subsection 2 clause B. He is violating the provision because he is not entitled to take the ITC if all the condition of 16.2 is not satisfied. Right now. So now, yes, against Mr. B, the penalty in 73-74, the tax interest penalty can be levied upon. Now he has issued the tax invoice, fake invoice to Mr. C. So this fake invoicing, again, it is not a supply at all. It is not a supply at all. So therefore 73, 74 cannot be levied. Here again, the section 122 subsection 1, it is being covered. Basically, two provision are being covered. So it is being levied under two different clauses. The penalty can be levied under two different clauses. That is the crux of the entire circular. But let me read the entire circular because it is very, very important. Now, clarification on various issues relating to applicability of the demand and penalty in respect of the transaction involving fake invoicing. Circular 171 dated 6th of July has been issued. What is that? In case where the registered person has issued the invoice to the another registered person, Mr. B, without any underlying the supplying the goods or services or both. The question is whether such transaction will be covered under section 7, that is supply definition. Now, whether any demand and recovery can be made from Mr. A in respect of the said transaction under the section 73 or 74. Second question. Third question, whether any penal action can be taken against registered person A in such case. These are the three questions for the first point. Since there is no supply, only tax invoice was there without underlying supplying the goods or services. Therefore, such activity does not satisfy the criteria of the supply. Because there is no supply by A to B, in accordance with the section 7 of the CGST Act, no tax liability arise against Mr. A for the said transaction, and accordingly, no demand and recovery is required to be made against A under the provision of 73 or 74. Okay. Beside, no penal action can be taken according to the provision of 73-74 against Mr. A. However, they are saying section 122, subsection 1, clause 2, for issuing the tax invoice without supplying the goods or services. Yes, it can be levied off. Okay. Now, second doubt. A registered person A has issued the tax invoice to another registered person B without any underlying supply, okay, of goods or services. B avail the ITC on the basis of the said tax invoice. B further issue along with underlying supply of the goods or services to his buyer and utilize the ITC availed on the basis of the above mentioned invoice issued by A for payment of his liability in respect of said outward supply. So what B has did? B has taken the wrong ITC. He has again issued the fake invoice for making the tax for liability to pay on the supply. He has used the ITC of invoice of Mr. A. Now, whether B will be liable for the demand and recovery of the said ITC along with penal action under the provision of 73 or 74 or any other provision of this act. This is the main question. Now, what is the answer? Since the registered person B has availed and utilized the fraudulent ITC on the basis of the said tax invoice without receiving the goods or services or both, in contravention of the 16 to B, shall be liable for the demand and recovery along with the penal action, that is 74. Here, no 73. Why? Because fraudulent ITC is there. So it is clear. So the only thing they are saying, it will only come under section 74. Along with the applicable interest, section 50. Now, further, as per the provision of section 75, subsection 13, what was that? Double jeopardy. It means if the penalty has been levied for that instance under 73 or 74, no other penalty would be levied. It means for this wrong ITC, the section 122 cannot be levied because of the section 75-13, double jeopardy cannot be there. If penal action for fraudulent availment of the ITC is taken against B, then no penalty for the same act, that is for the said fraudulent ITC, can be imposed on B under any other provision of the CGST Act, including section 122. ठीक है. Now this is very important. Third last, a registered person has issued the tax invoice to the another registered person to B without any underlying supplying the goods or services or both. Same, they have given the same to the another registered person C by issuing the invoice without underlying supply of the goods or services or both, whether B will be liable for the demand and penal action or any other provision of the CGST Act. So in this case, sir, but can A be said be liable to 76 tax collected but not paid to the government? Even he has not collected the tax now. He has not collected the tax. See, like this type of the concept of fake invoice, only invoice is being issued. I'll tell you one more thing after the completion of the circular. I'll tell you one more thing, why or what is the purpose behind fake invoicing. So in this racket, why the people do the fake invoicing? Because actual collection is nowhere happening. So it will not be covered in section 76 also. Fine. In this case, then I will also tell why the rule 88C was inserted. What was the requirement to make the rule 88C? That I will also explain in the entire particular this racket of fake invoicing. Now, in this case, the ITC availed by B in his electronic credit ledger on the tax invoice issued by A without actual receipt of the goods or services or both has been utilized by B for passing on the ITC by issuing the tax invoice to C. Correct? So has utilized, so without it has been utilized by B for passing the ITC to the C without any underlying supply of the goods. Now, as there is no supply by B to C, same concept that in respect of the said transaction, no tax was required to be paid by B in respect of the same. The ITC availed by B in his electronic credit ledger on the basis of the tax invoice issued by A without actual receipt of the goods or services or both. Repeating once again, ITC availed by B on the basis of the invoice of A without the goods is ineligible. In this case, there was no supply by B to C in respect of said transaction, and also no tax was required to be paid in respect of said transaction. Therefore, these specific case will not cover under 73-74. No demand and recovery of ITC wrongly fraudulently availed by B in such case, or tax liability in respect of said outward transaction by B to C is required to be made from B under the provision of 73-74. Correct? So the recovery of 73-74 would not be sustainable on the B for the supply made to C because it is not the supply at all. Only invoice was there. But 722 will come into the picture. Now this time 122, there would be two clauses, clause 2 and clause 7. What is the clause? What is these two clauses? He would be liable for the penal action under section 122. Who? Mr. B. For issuing the invoice without any actual supply of the goods or services and or taking or utilizing the ITC without actual receipt of the goods or services. These two actions would be taken. So the separate penalty can be there, 10,000, 10,000, 20,000. Now, the fundamental principle. So this circular is going to be complete. Let's read the last part. The fundamental principle that have been outlined in the above scenario may be adopted to decide the nature of the demand and penal action to be taken against a person for such wrong activity. Actual action to be taken will depend upon the fact and circumstances of each case, which may involve the complex mixture of above scenario or even may not be covered in any of the above scenario. So that would circular, they have given only the direction or path for one category of the transaction. If suppose transaction is not exactly same, might be there is a long chain, might be there are some other fictitious transaction are involved, then officer has to decide. Now that part is also important. Any person who retain the benefit under 122 and whose instances as transaction are conducted shall also be liable for the penal action under 122(1)(a). And what was the penal action? Equal to the tax amount. जितना टैक्स का डिफॉल्ट हुआ है इतना टैक्स का रिकवरी बन सकता है, इवन वो सपोज ही इज डूइंग ओनली फॉर लाइक 5%. In the market, we know that there are some mediator, there are some, I can say, the brokers, something, who are working in fake invoicing racket only for certain percentage. Let's say 2%, let's say 5%. In that case, the person who is doing the transaction and also retaining the benefit, he would also be covered in the 122(1)(a), and his bank account can also be attached. It may also be noted that in such case of the wrongful or fraudulently availment or utilization of ITC, or in case of issuance of invoice without supply the goods or service or both, leading to wrongful availment of or utilization of ITC, provision of section 132, that is criminal category of the offense in which the prosecution can also be made to the defaulter, may also be invocable subject to the condition based on the fact and circumstances of each case. Now, before moving to this particular point, let's explain the point which I supposed to explain, the concept of the fake invoicing and why, what is actual happening in the market. So I like to take the break of 2 minutes only. Ashokji, can you please start the break for 2 minutes only? So we're talking about Ashok ji, sound aa rahi hai. So we were talking about fake invoicing, like why it is being made, like that Shivam has asked the question that can it be covered in section 76 or not. A will make the supply, A will only issue the tax invoice to B. B will give to the C. Same C will give to the D. D will give to the E. E will give to the F. There may be the multiple number of the parties. Why they are doing? Only they are routing the transaction. There is no actual money movement. There is no actual money movement. And ultimately, F is issuing the fake invoicing to Mr. Z, who is an exporter. And because he is an exporter, he is entitled to get the refund. And because he is getting the refund, then this refund amount would be allocated between all parties. Once this refund is being received, then it will be allocated to all the parties. So therefore, it is not covered in section 76. Now, I like to discuss two rules, rule 86B and rule 88C. Can anybody tell me what is the rule 86B? क्या मुझे कोई बता सकता है क्या rule 86B? Can you please tell me what is the rule 86B? आपने पढ़ा है भाई? The rule 86B is basically talking about payment of tax 1% in cash. Right? There are certain provisions, but yes, if the turnover is more than 50 lakh rupees, then you pay the tax rate of 1% in cash. Why this provision was accepted again to put control on this? Because in any of the parties, they are not routing up. They are not having any cash portfolio with it. They are only issuing that tax invoice. Now that will be a sizable amount. That would not be like 5 lakh, 10 lakh. That would be the multiple of those. In that case, if they are with the fraud intention, they are doing the transaction with some fraud intention, every supply they have to pay 1% in cash. So suppose there are 10 parties, then there would be the compulsion that at least 10% would go to the government in cash. Otherwise there will be the default of 86B. ये वाला पार्ट क्लियर हो सभी को? एक बार कंप्लीट ये वाला पार्ट क्लियर हो? Now the second point, that these party, these fake invoicing transactions would not have the presence for a longer period. Might be they will close everything within a period of 2 to 3 months. मतलब क्या 2-3 महीने में ना ये सब लोग within a period of 2 to 3 months they will wind up their entire business. And if the officer will goes to that place, they will not find anything. To curb this type of transaction, they have inserted rule 88C. Suppose the initiator, Mr. A, because he does not have ITC, he is the beginner. He is the beginner of the transaction. Okay. Suppose he has passed on the credit by reporting in the GSTR1. Obviously, the transaction would appear in the GSTR2B of Mr. B. Correct. So he would be able to take ITC. But probably if he does not have any cash, so what he will do, either he will take some fraud ITC just by reporting some amount, or he will not pay any amount in the GSTR3B. He will not pay any amount in the GSTR3B. So probably he will file a nil GSTR3B, or he will pay rupee 1 GSTR3B. Rupee 1. Why rupee 1? So that it should not appear to Mr. B or in any of the chain that I am not filed, Mr. A has not filed the GSTR3B. Now, this again, this type of the movement will continue, and again after 2-3 months there will be nothing to recover. So that is the reason Rule 88C was inserted and giving the time of only 7 days. That's it. Means the GST R1 and 3B, maximum 3B due date would be 20, 24, 22, 24. The maximum it can be 24. So within the 6-7 days, the entire process would get closed. So that is the reason they are making so fast. Is it clear? These 2 points I would like to explain with respect to this fake invoicing. Now let's move regarding the inspection. There was one more problem. What was the problem? During the inspection, officer was forcing the taxpayer to pay right now. Otherwise, we will arrest. Somehow, they were forcing to every taxpayer during the search seizure to give the clarity, recovery of the taxes. They have issued this clarification that during the course of search, inspection, investigation, sometimes the taxpayer opt for deposit of their partial or full GST liability arising out of the issue pointed out by the department during the course of such search, inspection, investigation. Instances have been noticed where some of the taxpayer, after voluntarily depositing the liability, have been alleged used of force and coercive action by the officer for recovery during the course of search, inspection, investigation. Initial time period prior to this circular, there was such a big headache in the trade. If someone will come to recover, they have to pay instantly. They're not accepting that if you are not make the payment, if any party not make the payment, then they will arrest by using the power of section 69. That was the problem. So they have given the clarity. What was the clarity? So the legal position has been clarified. They are saying that taxpayer has the option to make voluntarily payment under 73.5 or 74.5. So this will help the taxpayer to discharge the admitted liability without having bear the burden of interest for delayed payment of tax. Correct. So if they know that yes, it is admitted liability, so they are ready to pay in the DRC 03. The form number would be DRC 03. While making the voluntary payment, they have to select in which section they are making the voluntary payment. Either it would be 73 or it would be 74. For delayed payment of the tax and may also save him from higher penalty imposed. Okay. Recovery of the tax not paid or short paid can be made under the provision of section 79 only, but after following due legal process. What is that? Issuance of the so-called notice, subsequent confirmation of the demand by issuance of the adjudication order. Therefore, this is a very, very important line. Therefore, there may not arise any situation where recovery of the tax has to be made by the officer during the course of search, inspection, seizure, investigation. No, it cannot. However, the law does not bar the taxpayer for voluntarily making the payment. If he like to make the payment, he can make the payment before or during the proceeding or subsequently. It is completely his choice. This was instruction number 1 and investigation dated 25th. Now we are moving to the one second. So that part is being completed. एक second. So this we have completed instruction number. Now fine. Let me move to the study material. For section 83, there is some rules which is being given in the study material. We have to read that rules also. What was the section 83? Provisional attachment to protect the revenue. So that earlier it was section, but now this section has been changed to the chapters which we have discussed. Chapter 12, chapter 14, chapter 15. Now the provisional attachment of the property, rule 159. Where the commissioner decide to attach any property including bank account, he shall pass an order to the effect mentioning therein the details of the property which is attached. First, he has to give the details of that property. Then the commissioner shall send a copy of the order of attachment to the concerned revenue authority. Commissioner shall send a copy of the order of attachment to the revenue authority, transport authority, or any authority to place encumbrances on the said movable or immovable property, which shall be removed only on the written instruction from the commissioner to that effect. Where the property is of the perishable or hazardous nature, then if the taxable person pays an amount equal to the market value or amount that is payable, become payable by the taxable person, whichever is lower, if the property is of the perishable nature and the taxable person pays this much of the amount, then property will be released along with proof of payment, on proof of payment. However, where the taxable person failed to pay the amount referred above, then commissioner can dispose of the property and the amount realized thereby shall be adjusted against tax, interest, penalty, or any other amount payable by that person. Now, any person whose property is attached may, within 7 days of the attachment, file an objection to the effect that property attached was or not liable to attachment, and the commissioner, after affording an opportunity to being heard to the person, shall release the property by an order. Commissioner, if it is satisfied that property is no longer liable to be attached, then can release the property. Second attachment is the debt and shares. The debt not secured by the negotiable instrument and shares in corporation or other movable property not in the possession of the defaulter. Okay. However, that will not be included. The property deposited or in the custody of the court. Okay. Then this property, debt, shares shall be attached by a written order in the prescribed form. In case of the debt, the creditor for recovering the debt and the debtor for making the payment thereof until the receipt of further order from the proper officer. In case of the shares, the person in whose name the shares may be standing from transferring the same or receiving any dividend thereof. So shall be attached by a written order, prohibiting, in case of the debt, the creditor from recovering the debt. So they will prohibit the creditor to recover the debt, and they will prohibit the debtor from making the payment thereof until the receipt of a further order from the proper officer. So they will prohibit that you will not take any action, neither recover, not pay anything. In the case of the shares, in whose name the shares are standing, they cannot do the transfer or they cannot receive any dividend on it. In case of other movable, the person in possession of the same from giving it to the defaulter. So they can prohibit the same. Copy of such order shall affix on the such conspicuous part of the office of the proper officer, and another copy shall be sent in case of the debt to the debtor and in case of the shares to the registered address of the corporation. A debtor prohibiting hereunder may pay the amount of his debt to the proper officer and shall be deemed to be paid by the defaulter. Attachment of the property in the custody of the court or public officer. Where the property is to be attached in the custody of any court, then the proper officer shall send the order of attachment to the such court or officer requesting that such property, interest, dividend become payable may be held till the recovery of the amount payable. So they can send the letter. Attachment of the interest in the partnership, where the property to be attached consists of an interest of the defaulter, being a partner in the partnership property, or the proper officer may make an order charging the shares of that partner in the partnership property and profit with payment of the amount under the certificate, and may by the same or subsequent order appoint the receiver, like liquidator in case of the company, they can appoint the receiver of the shares of such partner in the profit whether already declared or accruing or any other money which may become due in respect of the partnership and direct account, inquiry make an order for sale of such interest or such order as the circumstances may require. Other partner shall at the liberty at any time to redeem the interest or in the case sale being directed to the purchaser same. Correct. दूसरे party को it will be given the opportunity. This was of section 83 which I was talked about. So now from my side this chapter is completed. If you have any question kindly ask. So this is completed from my end. अशोक जी मुझे सेंटर में कर सकते हैं आप सर मेरी तरफ से शेयरिंग अब नहीं होगा सो यू कैन पुट मी इन द सेंटर ठीक है थैंक यू एनी पार्टिसिपेंट इफ यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चन अदरवाइज आई विल स्टार्ट द क्वेश्चन आंसर कोई डाउट सो फाइन सो शैल वी स्टार्ट fine so kindly give the confirmation or if you have any question then please tell me fine let me tell you please tell me that what is the difference between 73 and 74 please tell me what is the difference between 73 and 74 what is the difference between section 73 and 74 answer is 73 is for fraud cases and non-fraud cases and 74 is the fraud case. Correct? Next question would be, there are the total 5 circumstances in which 73 or 74 can be applied. Can you please tell me any one of that situation? Can you please tell me any one situation? There are total 5 circumstances in which 73 or 74 can be applied. Can you please tell me in the 73 and 74, there are total 5 circumstances. What are the 5 circumstances? Right answer is tax not paid, tax short paid, erroneously refunded, ITC wrongly availed or utilized. Correct? Next question to all of you, that in the 73, we have discussed some time limit to issue the notice. Can you please tell me what is the time limit to issue the notice under section 73? What is the time limit to issue the notice under section 73? The answer would be right. Answer would be that I can say the time limit to issue the order is 3 years, which would be counted from the due date of annual return, for due date of furnishing of annual return, minus 3 months in case of 73. So I can say, in other words, the time limit to issue the notice in 73, it would be 2 years 9 months. 2 years 9 months. Fine. Can you please tell me the same for section 74? Can you please tell me same for section 74? Can you please tell me same for section 74? Answer would be For the section 74, the time limit to issue the order is 5 years and minus it would be 6 months. So effectively we can say that 4 year 6 month. Out of the next question is out of the 5 circumstances, there is one circumstances or there is one determination of the tax interest penalty which is not linked to the due date of furnishing of annual return. The time limit of 3 year or 5 year, which we have discussed, that is not applicable. Out of the 5, there is one situation which is not on which not applicable from the furnishing of annual return. What was that? What was that? Yes, date of refund. Very nice, very nice. Date of refund. In case of the date of the refund, because if you are talking about the refund erroneously taken, that would not be linked to the financial year for annual return. They are linked to the date of refund. Okay. Can you please tell me? Yes, Shivam, erroneous refund. Can you please tell me if I pay the tax along with interest before issuance of the so-cause notice, will there be any penalty? Before so-cause notice, will there be any penalty? I'm talking about currently section 73. Before so-cause notice, is there any penalty? Penalty होगी या नहीं होगी? The answer would be no penalty. What about after notice but before order? Will there be any penalty? After notice, after so-cause notice but before order, the taxpayer defaulter has paid the amount. Will there be any penalty? Answer would be no. After order, will there be any penalty? In section 73. After order, will there be any penalty? After order, will there be any penalty? In section 73. Yes, 10% of the penalty will be there. Now, please tell me these 4 circumstances in section 74. You tell me before notice, how much would be the penalty? After notice, how much would be the penalty? After order within 30 days, how much would be the penalty? And beyond 30 days, how much would be the penalty? In case of section 74, I'm giving you 2 minutes. Please respond to this question. Very right, Kaushiki. If you have given the correct answer, offer the last question. 73 वाला question का बिल्कुल correct answer था. So my request would be 4 slab of the penalty in case of section 74. 4 slab of the penalty in case of section 74. Very smart answer. Very smart answer by Kaushiki, and very nice. All slab in one shot. Yes, right answer is 15%, 25%, 50%, and 100%. 15, 25, 50 and 100. Absolutely correct. Now you tell me one situation in which the time limit would not be applicable. So 3-year, 5-year, even that not applicable at all. In one case, you give me the example or you give me the situation in which the time limit would not be applicable at all, the 3-year, 5-year, etc. When? Right. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Tax collected but not paid to the government, that we have discussed in section 76. Absolutely correct. So one point which I have not in the class, which I have not taken in the class, the one clarification are also given by the circular 76. Suppose if one has not furnished 3B within time, but furnished after the time. Let's say he has furnished, let's say 10 days after the due date. So question is being aroused whether penalty in 73, 74 can be attracted. Whether penalty can be attracted. The answer would be yes, no. Sorry. The general penalty can be levied, but yes, 73, 74 cannot be levied. Repeating once again, circular 76 has given the clarity if one has furnished the 3B not within time but late. He has collected the tax but has paid but after due date. Then can the penalty under 73, 74 be levied on that person? That answer was no, cannot be levied. Only general penalty under section 125 can be levied. That was the clarification. It was missed, so I have added this thing. Now tell me that normally we know that for any recovery, we need to give the notice. Now, currently, I'm not talking about section 76. This question, I'm not talking about 76, something else. Which type of the amount can be directly collected without any notice? Which amount can be directly collected without any notice? Directly recovered, can be directly recovered without any notice. My question is basically from 75, section 75. Please tell me. Very nice. Very nice, Shyam Kumar. Let other respond. What was that concept in which it can be directly recovered without any notice, etc.? The answer is self-assessed tax. Answer is self-assessed tax. Please tell me one thing, that one new explanation was added in the 1/1/2022 with respect to the self-assessed tax. What was that explanation in short? Please explain that new explanation is being added in the 75 subsection 12. What was that? Which is being effective from January 22. Please tell me what was that. Very nice. R1 is greater than 3B. Absolutely correct. R1 is greater than 3B. Opportunity being added. Yes. We have discussed somewhere the concept of double jeopardy. Can you explain? I'm not talking about the concept of jeopardy. Can you explain where we have discussed, like what we have discussed? I'm talking about what we have discussed with respect to the concept of double jeopardy. हमने क्या डिस्कशन किया था with respect to the concept of double jeopardy in the section 75? Yes, that you cannot levy the penalty. If you have levied the penalty under 73-74, you cannot levy the penalty in any other act, in any other section of this act. For the same instance, same point. Correct. Suppose if the original order was issued under section 74 after 3 years, and finally the order is the court has directed that it is not sustainable in 74, it will be assumed under section 73. So my point is that will the recovery be possible in 73 or that will be dropped? Will it possible to continue that same under section 73 or it will be dropped? The answer would be not sustainable. Correct. It will be dropped. Bilkul, bilkul. It will be dropped, not sustainable. Because the time limit is being expired. So we have discussed in 75 one more point that if it is as per the direction, we have to give the means officer has to give the order, then there is some time limit within which you have to issue the order as per the direction of the appellate authority, court, etc. What was the time limit within which the order has to be issued as per the direction of appellate authority? The answer is 2 years. Absolutely correct. 2 years from the direction of the court. 2 years from the direction of the court. Absolutely correct. So, can you please tell me that in case of the section 77, interstate become intra or intra become inter, whether interest would be applicable or not? Whether interest would be applicable or not? Answer would be not applicable. We have discussed one clarification with respect to subsequently held. We have discussed one clarification with respect to subsequently held. In section 77, it is talking about subsequently held to be intra or inter vice versa. So we have talked about one circular clarification which says that it will include something. What was that clarification? Yes. So Kaushiki, Shyam Kumar, Shivam ने already बता दिया. Can you please tell me that when you are appearing in exam, which attempt you are having? Kaushiki, Molly, and all other participants. Viraj. आपका अटेम्प्ट कौन सा है? अच्छा, कौशिकी का सेम अटेम्प्ट है. ओके. ठीक है, नहीं बताऊंगा. अच्छा विराज, okay, great, ठीक है. Now we were talking about, you have given the answer that what was the question? Subsequently held means it will include both. If it is identified by the taxpayer, that is also covered, and if it is subsequently identified by the jurisdictional officer, any search, seizure, scrutiny, it will also cover that situation as well. So in section 78, we have discussed that they will wait for some time period. If there is any tax due, order is being given, they will wait for some time period, and after that they will initiate the recovery action. Can you please tell me what was the time limit? From the date of the order, it has to be paid by taxpayer within that amount payable by a taxable person within that period. What was that period? The answer is 3 months from the order. 3 months from the order, not the notice. 3 months from the order. 3 months from the order. Absolutely correct. Now, please tell me the payment of tax in installment. Maximum, how much installment can be given? Maximum, how much installment can be given? Maximum, how much installment can be given? 3 months from the order, any order. It can be any order, 73, 74, 76, maybe. Maximum kitna installment? How much installment can be given? The answer would be 24 monthly installment. But installment would not be applicable in one case. The installment option would not be applicable in one case. In which case it will not be applicable? In which case it will not be applicable? In which case it is not applicable? Yes, it will not be applicable. It will not be applicable in case of the self-assessment. And also you can say, as absolutely correctly told by Sivam, that if any installment is failed, any one installment is failed, then also it will not be applicable. So correct, 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 correct. So section 83, which is the provisionally attachment, after how much period it will automatically revoke, that order will be automatically revoked, cease to have effect after a period of how much, after how much period this automatically. राइट राइट कौशिकी, राइट। कभी यूज नहीं किया, सो आई वाज ट्राइंग, करेक्ट, आई वाज ट्राइंग दैट फॉर्म। सो आई थॉट कि होता क्या है देखने के लिए। सो द राइट आंसर इज 1 year, इट विल बी cease to have effect. In section 83, the scope has been widened. We all know that the scope has been widened. How the scope has been widened of section 83? There was some amendment. Can you please tell me what was the amendment by which the section 83 ka scope has been increased? Please tell me. सेक्शन 83 का स्कोप को इंक्रीज कर दिया उसने, कैसे? Correct. So earlier there was, that was limited to certain sections, 60 to 63, something like sections are there, and but now they are covering the chapter, entire chapter of assessment, of demand and recovery of that particular one more section, one more chapter was there. Total 3 chapter has been covered. ठीक है. Inspection search seizure, these 3 chapter has been covered. And Shivam, that wording is not correct. Rather than particular section and 120 to 1A. Okay, sorry. Your sentence is correct. You are talking about and 120 to 1A, they have included. Correct. So I can also say yes, 122 subsection 1A is being inserted in the section 83. It means even mastermind can be, the property of the mastermind can also be attached, or bank account can also be seized. I hope it is clear. So from my side, it's done. Any point you can tell, if anybody you like to ask any question. Otherwise, thank you very much. Good night to all of you. मेरी तरफ से क्लास कंप्लीट हो गई. अगर आपका कोई क्वेश्चन है तो आप पूछ सकते हैं. अदरवाइज थैंक यू वेरी मच. गुड नाइट टू ऑल ऑफ यू. So regarding you can connect, see, if anybody like to connect with me, so you can connect through social media, that is LinkedIn. Professional connections, that is not marketing, nothing. I always tell the student to connect with me professionally. The purpose of that connection, so that I would be aware whenever you clear the examinations, or when you proceed to the next level in your career. So that would be the way to connect. Correct. Social media, only in LinkedIn, nothing else. ठीक है, तो प्रोफेशनली हम एक दूसरे से कनेक्ट हो जाएंगे, दैट वुड बी बेटर. सीए अरुण छाजर. थैंक यू वेरी मच. गुड बाय टू ऑल ऑफ यू. ठीक है, मुलाकात करते हैं नेक्स्ट क्लास में. अशोक जी. ठीक है, थैंक यू.